Have you ever just stopped and wondered how really, truly incredible things happen? I mean, it's usually not one big, flashy moment, right? It's almost always about the tiny, consistent steps. And today, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. How those small efforts, when you do them over and over again, lead to something massive. Let's dive in.
Okay, so it all kind of starts with this simple question. How can something so small, something you can literally just hold in the palm of your hand, end up as something so unbelievably magnificent and huge? Well, the answer to that's the real heart of our story today. It's all about consistent effort and, yeah, a whole lot of patience. So let's see this whole idea in action. Our story kicks off with a young boy named Sam and a dream that started, like so many great things do, really, really small. So this is Sam, and Sam absolutely loved the forest. But more than anything, he was just captivated by those giant, ancient trees. You know the kind. He would spend hours just staring up at them, totally in awe of how big and strong they were, always wondering, how does something so huge even come from the ground? And then one day, he found it. Just one single, perfect little acorn. And right there, holding that tiny thing in his hand, he made a huge decision. He set a goal for himself that was somehow both incredibly simple and absolutely enormous. He was going to grow his very own giant oak tree. But, as anyone who's ever tried to do something big knows, this is where the real work begins. Sam's dream was not going to happen overnight. Nope. This was going to be a long, long, patient wait. Just look at this timeline, right? Day 1, he planted the seed and watered it. Easy enough. 10 weeks later, he's still out there watering. And nothing. 6 months in, still just a patch of dirt. The only thing happening was Sam showing up every day, doing that one small, consistent thing, watering that spot. And you can totally imagine how that must have felt. Super discouraging, right? I mean, doubt had to be creeping in. Is the seed bad? Am I doing this wrong? It would have been so easy to just give up. But here's the thing. This is the whole point. Even when he felt like quitting, he didn't. He kept showing up. He just kept watering. And because he refused to give up, after all that waiting and all that quiet work that nobody even sees, something finally began to change. After one full year of taking care of that spot every single day, just one tiny green shoot finally pushed its way through the soil. Now, it wasn't a tree, not even close, but you guys, it was everything. It was all the proof he needed that those little actions, all that unseen work, actually mattered. Of course, that little sprout was just the very beginning. With many, many more years of that same consistent care, Sam's little acorn just kept growing and growing and growing until it finally became that tall, strong, majestic oak tree he had always dreamed of. So, you see, Sam didn't just grow a tree. He learned this huge lesson about how things actually work. So, what's the big takeaway from all this for us? Years later, when people would come by and just marvel at this magnificent oak, Sam would tell them his secret. He'd say, it's not about the size of the seed. It's all about the consistency of the care. It was about that determination to keep going, especially on all those days when it felt like absolutely nothing was happening. Sam's story is just a perfect example of a few really important life skills. The first one is perseverance, and that's really just a fancy word for sticking with something even when it gets hard or you feel like you're failing. Every single one of those days Sam watered that empty patch of dirt, that was him practicing perseverance. And the second one is patience. I mean, think about it. Sam had to wait an entire year just to see that first tiny little sprout. Patience is just understanding that big results can take a really long time and being okay with that process. And finally, we've got goal setting, right? None of this would have even started if Sam didn't have a clear goal. He knew exactly what he wanted, to grow a giant oak tree. That super clear aim was like his North Star, guiding every single one of his daily actions. So it really all comes down to this one super powerful idea: remarkable success. Whether it's growing a tree or acing a test or learning a new skill, it doesn't come from one big heroic moment. It comes from small, consistent actions repeated day after day after day. Okay, so how can we actually use this in our own lives? It's time to start thinking about the seeds that you want to plant. Now it's your turn. Let's map it out real quick. First, you've got to name your goal. What's your giant oak tree? Then, what's your first small step? The watering you can do this week. After that, how do you build on it this month? And finally, what's the long view? What does staying consistent for a whole year look like? And listen, the most important thing to remember is this: you don't have to grow the whole tree today. That's not your job. Your only job is to plant the seed and water it. Every great achievement starts with that one small, consistent action. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Your goals, your dreams, they're your acorns, just waiting to be planted. So, with a little consistent effort, some patience, and that perseverance we talked about, what great oak will you grow?